Alright, everyone, this has been, I don't know, in the making, but Freakshow Fights is ready. And I am just going to be reading off my script. I am too lazy right now, and I don't have a way to print this script and just read it off on a blank background. So just tolerate this. There might be spoilers. Just pretend, just go somewhere else and listen to this like an audiobook, okay? Freak Show Fight rules, okay? We're gonna talk about the rules. We only use canon things. What is canon is hotly debated, but we will try to use statements and such. Anti-feats aren't allowed, although if they are more common, we will bring them up. We want to use anything possible for this. Weighted categories. Some categories matter more than others. This one doesn't actually have any weighted categories. Probably should have mentioned that. Do not bet on our matches unless you're old enough. Do I have to make that a disclaimer? At least try to be respectful and civil to others. If I'm wrong about something, just let me know. Like all humans, I am not infallible. Now that we have the rules settled, let's get into the analysis of both of our combatants to see who would win in a fight. In our opinion, trust me, this is opinionated. I think. Power scaling is apparently subjective. But now let's talk with our first subject of today's freaky fight. In the area of Shinjuku, a high schooler by the name of Naoki Kashima went to the hospital to see his teacher for career advice. On his way, he met a man named Hijiri, the writer of an occult magazine, who told him something, cult, something inception. Wait, the universe ended. Wow, maybe we shouldn't have skipped the dialogue? Anyways, short version, Hikawa, a member of the Ring of Gaia, and his teacher, Yuko Takao, hatched a plan to force God to delete the universe so that it can make a new, better universe with Blackjack and maybe a Catgirl hooker or two. Now he was caught up in this alongside his other friends, Isamu and Shiaki, and now he had a bug implanted inside of him, as he would now wander this new vortex world as the Demi Fiend. Holy shit! It took us that long to get here. The Demi Fiend is an absolute beast, having the best traits of being both a human and demon. Although outside of his human skin, he's more demon now. He can command other demons without use of machine, conjure practically anything he pleases, use observation to regenerate his body no matter what wounds he has, dethrone gods, warp reality, and pretty much anything he wants, and die like a lot. Because Nocturne is the grandfather of Dark Souls. Atlas made the first game. I'm not even really much joking. Demi Fiend was able to survive in this vortex world, as well as doing Lucifer's dirty work for him by collecting the menorahs for unspecified reasons, and being hunted down by Dante from the Devil May Cry series, or Rido if you're playing the Chronicle version, both being extremely powerful opponents that Demi Fiend was able to overcome, making his way through the vortex world in the Labyrinth of Mala. Demi Fiend is out with a choice, which ending to pick, and since we use everything that is canon, we get to use them all, as well as all his Magatama, including the one he got from playing that god-awful minigame known as Puzzle Boy. His Magatama allow him to learn new attacks, change resistances, and with the ultimate Magatama, Masakatos literally nullify any attack except for Guns and Almighty. With with his equipment in tow, he was able to kill Kakatsuchi and achieve whatever ending you wanted. But if you choose to side with Lucifer, Demi gets one supremely overpowered trick up his sleeve, Pierce, which allows him to bypass resistances, immunities, and anything of the sort. No matter what defenses you have, he will just break them. And what kind of power am I talking about? Demi has been able to tank and dish out attacks, as well as move as fast to the point where we literally cannot begin to fathom as scaling to literally every mythos and philosophy. Megami Tensei is actual bullshit in terms of how stupid it is, and it would take an actual century to explain everything, so for goodness sake, go read the page in the description. We linked that into the description. Read it. It uses some heavily opinionated terms, but it is completely accurate with its sources. I checked. So go read it. But we are not done. We're Billy Mays here. As Demi-Fiend has his army of over 400 demons, we will not be including Rido into this equation, but Demi-Fiend's demons are literally so numerous, we just have to talk about the heaviest hitters. Sorry, we did not even include Yuri Mikala in this. Somehow I forgot to add him into the fight. So, yeah. Pixie. Demi-Fiend's first demon wields powerful magic, healing, and other spells to make sure you never underestimate this tiny little fairy. Beelzebub is the literal lord of the flies, wielding unblockable instant kill magic, fearsome claws, and his numerous amount of flies. Metatron, God's strongest warrior, wielding the strongest magic and immunity to practically all forms of damage and the ability to summon other even more angels. Alongside Giri Mikala, a powerful Buddhist demon he bought from a shady broker, having the ability to pierce natively, the ability to reflect most forms of attack, and debuff his enemies. This elephant is as penetrating and hard as his big throbbing master. But we're still not done, as Demi Fiend has been able to battle against opponents outside his game, such as Nahobino in Shin Megami Tensei 5, and Stephen, potentially Hawking, in Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. Don't ask me, this series is crazy. And now that we have contestant 1 settled, let's talk about contestant 2. Born in Detroit, Michigan, a place that is worse than hell, Al Simmons was a talented officer of the United States Marines. Upon his transfer to the CIA, and him and his director had a rocky relationship to say the least, and then Al was murdered in Botswana. He was sent to Hell, not the city in Michigan called Hell, where he arranged a deal with an entity called Malbogia. He agreed to become a Hellspawn, as one does, just so he could see his wife one last time. Upon going back to Earth and realizing his wife had married his best friend, hey, when that happens, some stuff happens, and some sort of prophecy started. He also uses his new Hellspawn powers to fight the absolute trash of society, because today was garbage day. And I believe that we can now talk about his powers. Spawn is extremely versatile, being able to fly, teleport, stop time. He's even so fast that he, once smashed time, he can manipulate matter, shapeshift his own body, read and control minds. Hell, nice. Pretty much any superpower you could think of, although he runs on necroplasm, so he's sort of limited on how much he could use. Also, he has a lot, and I mean a lot, of guns. Also, his cape, Letha, is a force to be reckoned with. Having over 1 million souls, all being the scum of the earth, Spawn killed in combat, who can be summoned at any time, allowing Spawn to win through sheer numbers alone. As an army of Minecraft YouTubers, CEOs, and worst of all, my Uncle Larry are extremely terrifying by numbers alone. His cape can even summon chains, drain people of their power. It has even allowed Spawn to kill a literal dark god. Although Spawn has a glaring weakness to holy weapons, like that time he decided to literally erase himself from existence, then he literally rewrote reality to undo his own death. He also then decided to rebel against Malbogia, as one does, rip the thing's head off, become the King of Hell, a form that allows him to grow in power constantly, and also become omnipotent, although only in Hell. And then he met Gaia, the mother of existence, who gifted him with divine power, allowing Spawn to defeat God and Satan, who are both strong enough to control infinite-sized universes. And then he was reborn as a human, but we don't talk about that, because, like, we want this to be fair. We don't want this to be a human versus a guy who can do bullshit. Now that we have both contestants set, it's time for one freak of a fight! In order to ensure that both characters are at equal strength and to establish a setting, this battle will be taking place within the Hall of Chaos, where Demi Fiend fought the Nahobino in Shin Megami Tensei 5, but Spawn replaced him. Just so you know, that's where this fight takes place. Now that we have our contestants and arena set, it's time for a fight in audio drama format. Because I can't animate for shit. I might want to learn animation now. Spawn received a strange letter from a man who called himself Louis Cypher. Despite the absolute shadiness of this, he read the instructions, despite his better judgment, went to the Hall of Chaos where he would meet an opponent. What seemed like a normal child from afar perceived a glow in the dark with green light, walked towards him, and glare at him with his yellow eyes as a fairy creature flew beside him and said, "Well, well, well, it seems you've arrived to your grave. Don't worry, we'll ensure any and all family of you have will get your remains. That is, if you have any remains left. Demi Fiend is pretty strong, just so you know." As the so-called legendary King of Chaos prepared a battle stance, not even speaking, as if his opponent was a random enemy in a video game. The battle began. As Spawn drew his massive gun and shot his opponent several times, doing some visible damage, summoning some chains to chain his opponent, although for some unknown reason it seemed as if it had no effect in the slightest. As Spawn, or rather Lethal, responded by summoning his a million souls, to which Demi Fiend responded almost casually by using Gaia Rage and eliminating every single one of them, and then punching Spawn in the face, doing severe damage. as Spawn realizes that he must go all out this early if he's to hope to triumph, transforming into Divine Spawn as he attacks Demi Fiend, albeit to no effect, causing Spawn to use a massive energy blast to attack his opponent, actually causing him some damage as Demi Fiend summons Beelzebub for backup, who casts Debilitate, weakening Spawn, who then proceeds to incinerate the overgrown fly. Although this does nothing to Demi Fiend as Spawn begins to realize a way to try and attempt to counter it by using his ability to change the attributes of objects to change the attributes of his attacks to be able to deal damage, to which he tries this and it works as Demi-Fiend proceeds to take damage, as he retaliates by summoning Metatron, who proceeds to say, "Your form is that of a false god. Be gone, unholy beast." As Spawn says, "Shut your metallic ass up. Calling me a false god is ironic coming from you, considering you're a robotic angel." As Metatron attempts to incinerate Spawn with fire of Sinai, as Spawn stops time, maneuvers around the beams, and goes right for Demi-Fiend. Although Demi-Fiend punches Spawn even through frozen time, it's as if Demi-Fiend didn't even notice that time has frozen. Although while Spawn doesn't notice this, his divinity is stripped as Demi-Fiend charges all of his power into one Frykugel blast as he blasts Spawn, as Spawn feels his entire existence being undone. As his attack seems to defy fate, as Spawn feels helpless to do anything, like a moth getting too close to a flame, Spawn is wiped clean off the face of existence, as the now victorious Demi-Fiend yells out, "One more god rejected!" KO. Give me time to breathe. Okay? That was one hell of a fight, literally. Now let's get into why we decided this outcome, with categories, starting with power. In outright power, Demi-Fiend had Spawn beaten by an absurd amount. Spawn might have had infinite power, but Megami Tensei is on a whole nother level of absurdity. Even as early as a few hours into the game, he was capable of defeating Thor, who is beyond anything Spawn has been able to show. And the same story for our next category, in durability. Spawn was durable, but Demi-Fiend was so durable, and with Spawn's meager power compared to Demi-Fiend's durability, that Spawn would have had to hit him an insane amount of times for the guy to go down, which would have been extremely hard, especially considering Demi-Fiend's revives. I forgot to even mention the revives. Now for combat intelligence and experience, Spawn takes these two categories extremely easily. Demi-Fiend kinda just overpowers his enemies with very little strategy outside of item usage and buffing and debuffing his opponents. Whereas Spawn, even before becoming the Hell Spawn we know him of today, was a Navy elite with actual combat training. And that also goes to experience. While Demi-Fiend might have technically had slightly more experience with supernatural enemies, Spawn has generally had more combat experience. Because to my knowledge, high schoolers usually have less combat training than Navy members. And now the final category, abilities. Spawn had a lot of abilities, but Demi-Fiend had an answer to almost all of them. The only thing he didn't have a direct answer for was guns, which due to his durability, revives, and the such would have made guns most likely a non-factor. Even Divine and Hellspawn, although he would have not really been able to use Hellspawn as well this fight doesn't take place in Hell, had a counter in the fact that Demi-Fiend is A, battled omnipotent foes before, and B, has the ability to strip his opponents of their divinity through human observation. But there's one last argument I believe needs to be brought up, that being Spawn being able to rewrite fate. Something Demi-Fiend has several hundred counters for, from being able to kill the Moray sisters to scaling to the Akashic Records, which are a literal record of anything that has and can and will happen, something Demi-Fiend and other characters on his level have constantly been capable of theoretically defying. So in the end, Spawn was one hell of a combatant, but Demi-Fiend had the offense, defense, actual army, and classic Megami Tensei bullshit necessary to take the win. Next time on Freakshow Fights, uh, I'll think of a matchup. I